Beneath the twin suns of Zira 7, the sky burned violet and gold dust swirled in slow spirals around the obsidian spires of the Kailari hive city. The air hummed with low-frequency pulses that vibrated through bone and blood. It was a world of sharp angles and living stone where silence meant death and loyalty meant survival. In the center of the grand amphitheater stood Lily, a human girl barely 17. Her bare feet pressed into warm black stone, her thin gray jumpsuit torn at the shoulders. She had been taken from Earth during the last orbital sweep along with dozens of others. But while the rest were processed or discarded, Lily remained untouched, watched, studied. Around her the Kailari elite stood motionless, their chitinous armor gleaming like polished onyx, their 6 eyes unblinking. Each warrior taller than a human man, their limbs jointed in ways that defied anatomy, yet moved with eerie grace. They did not speak. They did not breathe. They waited. Then the ground trembled. From the highest arch of the amphitheater a figure descended, not walking but gliding as if gravity itself bowed to her presence. Queen Vela, the matriarch of the Kailari Empire. Her form was both terrifying and mesmerizing, 8 feet tall with a crown of crystalline spines that pulsed with inner light. Her skin shimmered between indigo and silver, shifting like liquid metal. Her eyes glowed with cold intelligence and something else. Something ancient and hungry. The crowd of warriors knelt as one, their foreheads touching the stone. Lily did not kneel. She stood trembling but upright, her heart hammering against her ribs, her palms slick with sweat. Yet her gaze never wavered from the queen. Vela stopped 10 paces away. The air between them crackled, with unseen energy. Then in a voice that resonated like distant thunder, yet carried the softness of wind through dead leaves, she spoke. "He will be mine." The words echoed through the amphitheater, bouncing off the stone walls, confusing Lily for a moment. She was a girl, not a he, but before she could question it, the queen stepped closer, her long fingers brushing a strand of hair from Lily's face. The touch was cool, dry, almost gentle. Yet Lily felt a jolt run through her as if touched by lightning. The warriors stirred uneasily, their antennae twitching. Vela turned her glowing eyes toward them and they stilled instantly. "You question my choice," the queen said, her voice low, dangerous. No one spoke. "Good." She turned back to Lily. "You are the youngest human, brought to Zira 7. She said you have no rank, no weapon, no history yet. You stand when others cower. You look when others look away. You breathe when you should be dead." Lily swallowed hard, her throat dry. "I am just a girl," she whispered. "You are more than that," Vela replied. "There is a spark in you. Something raw, something unbroken. The Kailari lost that spark long ago when we traded emotion for order, feeling for function. But you still feel, you still hope." Lily frowned, confused. "Why does that matter?" "Because," the queen said, stepping back and raising her arms, "the hive is dying." A murmur rippled through the warriors, but they did not move for generations. The Kailari have bred for perfection, eliminating weakness, eliminating difference, but in doing so we have eliminated life itself. Our young are born silent, our queens grow sterile. Our songs have no melody, we are a race of ghosts. Wearing armor, Lily stared at her, unable to speak. "You humans are chaotic, messy, fragile, but you create, you love, you fight for nothing and everything, you bleed and still you rise. That is the spark we need, so you want me to..." "What?" Lily asked. "Be your pet?" Vela laughed, a sound like shattering glass, yet strangely warm. "No, little one, I want you to be my heir." The words hit Lily like a physical blow. "Heir to what?" "To the hive, to the stars, to everything," the queen said. "I have watched you for cycles. You comforted the dying old man from your ship. You shared your water with the boy who stole your ration. You sang to yourself in the dark when you thought no one listened. That is not weakness, that is strength." Lily shook her head. "This is insane. I am not one of you. You will be," Vela said. And for the first time her voice held something almost like sorrow. "The transformation will be painful but necessary. Your body will change, your mind will expand, you will become something new. Something greater." Lily took a step back. No, the queen did not move, but her eyes narrowed. "You have no choice. I always have a choice," Lily said, her voice stronger now, even if it is just to say no. For a long moment the two stood facing each other, human and alien, queen and girl, the violet suns casting long shadows across the stone. Then Vela nodded slowly. Very well, you will have your choice, but know this: if you refuse, the hive will collapse within 3 cycles, and with it every human held in our domain, including you. Lily felt her stomach drop. You are threatening me. I am offering you truth, the queen replied. Silence stretched between them, thick and heavy. Lily looked around at the warriors, their faces unreadable, their bodies tense. She thought of the others, the humans locked in holding cells, scared, hungry, alone. She thought of her little brother back on Earth who still believed she was on a school trip. She thought of her mother's voice singing lullabies in the rain. Then she looked back at Vela. What if I say yes, she asked. The queen's spines brightened a fraction. You will be trained. You will learn our ways. You will carry our legacy, and in time you will choose your own path, even if it leads away from us. And if I say nothing, then we all fall into silence, Vela said simply. Lily closed her eyes for a moment, then opened them again. I need time. You have until the next eclipse, the queen said, which is in 3 days. 3 days to decide the fate of 2 species. That night Lily was given a chamber unlike the others. It was open to the sky, with walls of living crystal that hummed softly and shifted colors. With her mood, a pool of warm, liquid silver sat in the center, and strange plants with glowing leaves curled toward her as she entered. She sat by the pool staring at her reflection, a girl with tired eyes and tangled hair who had never asked for any of this, but as she watched her reflection, something changed. The silver water rippled, and for a moment she saw not herself, but a figure tall and radiant with eyes like stars and skin that shimmered like the queen's. She jerked back, startled. The vision faded. The next morning a Kailari elder came to her. Not a warrior, but a keeper of memories, her body frail, her spines dull with age. You fear the change, the elder said in halting human speech. Lily nodded. Fear is wise, the elder said, but do not let it blind you. The queen has not chosen an heir in over 1,000 cycles. She broke tradition for you. That means something. Why me? Lily asked. Because you are small, the elder replied, and the universe listens to small things. Over the next 2 days, Lily walked the hive city guided by silent attendants. She saw nurseries where Kailari young lay motionless in pods, their minds connected to a central network. No laughter, no play, no tears. She saw libraries where knowledge was stored but never questioned. She saw gardens of perfect symmetry with no weeds, no chaos, no life. And she saw the humans in their cells, their eyes dull, their spirits broken. On the 3rd day, as the twin suns began to align, casting long shadows across the land, Lily stood once more in the amphitheater. Vela waited. The warriors watched. The air was still. Lily took a deep breath. I accept, she said. The queen did not smile. Kailari did not smile, but her spines glowed brighter, and the ground beneath them trembled with something like joy. Then come, the queen said, and take your first step into forever. As Lily walked toward her, the sky darkened, the eclipse began, and for the first time in centuries, the Kailari hive sang not with data or commands, but with something raw, something human, something like hope. The transformation began that night, not with pain, but with understanding. As Lily's mind opened to the hive network, she felt the loneliness of 1,000 warriors, the sorrow of a dying race, the quiet desperation of a queen who had ruled too long alone, and she answered not with words but with a song, a simple human lullaby her mother used to sing. The hive fell silent. Then slowly, one by one, the warriors began to hum along, their voices, rough, unfamiliar, but trying. In that moment, Lily knew she had made the right choice. Not because she wanted power, but because someone had to remind them how to feel. Weeks passed, and Lily changed. Her skin took on a soft silver sheen. Her eyes glowed faintly in the dark. Her mind expanded to hold the thoughts of thousands, yet she remained herself, still Lily, still human, still stubborn. She walked among the young, teaching them to draw with their hands, not just project images. She planted wild seeds in the perfect gardens and laughed when they grew crooked. And Vela watched her with something that might have been pride. One evening, as the twin suns set painting the sky in hues of rose and ash, Lily stood beside the queen on the highest spire. Do you regret it? The queen asked. Lily looked out over the city, now alive with color and sound, children laughing, warriors arguing over games, elders telling stories. No, she said, this is not what I expected, but it is what they needed. And what about you? Lily smiled softly. I needed. Itooth Queen placed a hand on her shoulder, a gesture of trust rare among the Calarithan. We are both saved. Below them the hive pulsed with new life, not perfect, not orderly, but alive. And for the first time in 1,000 years, it was enough. Months passed, and the hive city of Zyra 7 bloomed in ways no Kalari had ever imagined. Vines of bioluminescent moss crept up the obsidian towers. Children painted murals on the once sterile walls using pigments made from crushed starlight. Crystals and Lily walked among them not as a queen, not as a human, but as something in between, a bridge, a spark, a quiet revolution in motion. Yet not all welcomed the change. Deep in the lower chambers where the old laws still echoed through cold stone, a faction of high warriors gathered, their armor dull, their spines unlit. They called themselves the Pure Ones, and they saw Lily not as hope, but as contamination. She is soft, they whispered. She bleeds too easily. She questions too much. She sings. Instead of commanding, their leader Korak, a veteran of 100 wars, stood at the center, his voice a rasp of grinding stone. The queen grows weak. She forgets what made us strong. Order, silence, perfection. Perfection is death, another warrior muttered, but was silenced with a glare. Korak turned to the ancient archive wall where the first hive laws were etched in living metal. We must act before the human taint spreads to the young. Meanwhile, Lily sat in the garden she had coaxed from the heart. Of the central spire, wildflowers now grew beside Kaelari. Crystal blooms, their petals shimmering in harmony. She held a small Kaelari child in her lap, teaching her to braid stems into a crown. The girl's 6 eyes wide with wonder. You do not command me to do this, the child said, her voice thin like wind through glass. No, Lily replied gently, because joy cannot be commanded, only shared. The child smiled, a rare expression among her kind. Vela watched from the balcony above, her spines dim with fatigue. The weight of centuries pressing down, she had given Lily freedom, but the cost was her own strength. The hive mind, once sharp and singular, now hummed with doubt, with questions, with color, and that frightened the old guard that evening as the twin moons rose, casting twin shadows across the city. Vela summoned Lily not in the amphitheater but in the memory chamber, a place where thoughts became images and silence held stories. You are loved, the queen said without turning. Lily stepped forward, the floor cool beneath her bare feet. I feel it, but love is not armor. Vela turned, her glowing eyes heavy with warning. There are those who would see you gone, not for what you are, but for what you represent. Change, Lily said softly. Yes, and change terrifies them more than war. Lily looked at the walls where memories swirled like smoke faces of past queens, warriors, poets, all frozen in time. Do they remember feeling anything? Some, Vela said, but they buried it deep, believing it made them vulnerable, and you buried it too, Vela admitted, until I saw you standing alone in the amphitheater, unbroken by fear. That was the moment I remembered what it meant to want something. Not because it was logical, but because it was right. Lily reached out and touched the queen's forearm, a gesture once unthinkable, now familiar. The silver skin warm beneath her fingers. Then let me protect you too. You already do. The next morning the first sign came, a mural Lily had helped paint. A spiral of stars and hands joined, across species. Was defaced black resin smeared over the faces, the words pure hive carved deep into the stone. Lily stood before it, her breath steady, her heart not racing as it once would have. She did not rage, she did not cry. Instead, she knelt and began to clean it with her hands, mixing water from the silver pool with crushed petals, to make a paste that glowed faintly as it healed. The stoneward spread quickly. By midday, a dozen young Kaelari joined her, scrubbing silently at first. Then, humming the lullaby Lily had taught them by dusk, the mural was not only restored but expanded, now showing not just hands but wings, hearts and open eyes. Korak watched from a high ledge, his fists clenched. That night he moved. 3 warriors loyal to the Pure Ones slipped into the human wing where the remaining Earth captives were held, not to free them but to use them as bait. They knew Lily visited every evening to bring extra rations and songs. Lily arrived as usual, a small pouch of nutrient Paste in one hand, a carved wooden bird in the other, a gift for Mara, the youngest human girl, still only 12. But the corridor was too quiet. The air smelled of ozone and fear. She slowed her steps, her senses sharpened by months of hive integration. She could feel the tension in the walls, the hidden breaths behind the vents. Then a voice from the shadows: "Come closer, human, or the girl dies." Mara stood in the center of the chamber, her small frame trembling, a Kailari blade pressed to her throat, held by a warrior whose eyes burned with cold fire. Lily did not run. She did not plead. She set the pouch and the bird gently on the floor. "You think hurting her will make me obey?" She said, her voice calm. "We think it will remind you of your place." Korak stepped forward from the darkness, his armor scarred from ancient battles. "You are not one of us, you never will." Belili looked at Mara, then back at Korak. "You are wrong. I am not one of you, but I am part of the hive now, and the hive protects its own." Before anyone could move, Lily slammed her palm against the wall. A pulse of silver light erupted through the corridor. Not a weapon, but a call. Within seconds, the chamber filled with sound, not of weapons, but of voices. Dozens of young Kailari poured in, not armed, but present, their bodies forming a living wall between Lily and the rebels, their hum rising into a single resonant note that vibrated. The very air. Korak staggered back, his blade faltering. "You have turned our young against us." "No," Lily said, stepping forward, Mara running to her side. "I have only shown them they have a choice." The young Kailari did not attack. They simply stood there, 6 eyes fixed on the rebels, their presence louder than any threat. Korak lowered his weapon, his shoulders slumping, not in defeat but in confusion. "What have you done to them?" "I gave them permission to care," Lily replied. Vela arrived then, flanked by elder warriors, her presence filling the space like a storm held in check. "Korak, you have broken the deepest law. You threatened a hive child. He is not Kailari." "Korak Spay. He is under my protection and the hive's," the queen said. "And that makes him ours." Korak fell to one knee, not in submission, but exhaustion, the fire in his eyes dimming. "I only wished to preserve what we were, and in doing so, you nearly destroyed what we could become." Vela said softly. "Take him to the reflection vaults. Let him listen to the silence until he hears the song within it." As the rebels were led away, Lily knelt and rapped, her arms around Mara, who buried her face in Lily's shoulder. "Are we safe now?" The girl whispered. "Safer than before," Lily said, "because now they know we are not alone." In the days that followed, the hive shifted again, not through force, but through presence. Lily began holding open circles in the central plaza where any Kailari could speak, not just report but share dreams, fears, questions, a concept once alien now, growing like roots through stone. An old warrior spoke of losing his bondmate in the silent wars and wept silver tears that pooled like liquid stars. A young technician admitted she preferred painting to coding, and was met not with scorn but with requests to see her work. Even the elders began to visit Lily, not to test her but to learn. Vela watched it all from afar, her strength returning not from control but from trust. An afternoon, Lily found the queen in the memory chamber again. But this time, Vela was not alone. She stood before a new carving, not of laws, but of a single word in both human and Kailari script together. "You made this?" Lily asked. "No," Vela said. "The young ones did last night while we slept." Lily traced the letters with her fingers. "They are learning faster than we ever did." "Because they have you," the queen said. "You are not replacing me. Lily, you are reminding me who I was before the crown became a cage." Lily looked at her, then at the word on the wall, then back at the city beyond the chamber windows, alive with color. Sound, movement. "What happens now?" "Now," Vela said, "we build something new, not human. Not Kailari but ours, and if more rebels come, then we meet them not with blades but with open hands." Lily said, "Because fear only grows in the dark, and we have brought the light." That evening, as the twin suns dipped below the horizon, Lily stood on the highest spire, not alone but surrounded by dozens of Kailari, young and old warriors and poets, humans and hiveborn, all watching the sky together. No one spoke. No one needed to. The silence was no longer empty. It was full of possibility. And somewhere deep in the reflection vaults, Korak sat in darkness, not in punishment but in peace for the first time in centuries. He closed his eyes and listened, not for commands, but for the faint hum of a lullaby drifting. Through the stone he did not join it, not yet, but he did not silence it either. And that was enough. The hive was healing, not by erasing its past but by embracing its future. One small act of courage at a time, one shared song, one open hand, one choice. To care when it would have been easier to command. Lily looked up as the first stars appeared, not as distant points of light but as witnesses to what they had begun. She was still human. She was still herself. But she was also more, and for the first time, since arriving on 07, she felt not like a captive or a chosen one but like home. The fragile peace between the Kailari, the Vorn, and the humans settled like morning mist over 07. Soft, uncertain but real, Lily walked the newly joined gardens where Kailari crystal vines curled around Vorn iron trellises and human wildflowers. Bloomed in the cracks of ancient stone, she no longer felt like an outsider or even a bridge, she simply belonged. Yet peace demanded more than absence of war. It demanded trust, and trust took time. The Vorn elders remained cautious. Their movements, stiff, their voices low. They accepted food but did not eat in front of others. They listened to songs but did not join. They watched Lily with eyes that held both gratitude and fear. One evening, Lily found the oldest Vorn elder sitting alone by the silver pool. His gray robes pooled around him like shadows, his hands folded tightly over his knees. "You do not sleep," she said, sitting beside him. "Sleep brings dreams," he replied, "and dreams bring memories. I am not ready to remember. What do you fear most?" "That I will remember how to hope and then lose it again." Lily was quiet for a moment. Then she reached into her pocket and pulled out a small seed. A human sunflower seed she had saved from Earthplant. "This," she said, "not because it will grow fast, but because it will try every day to reach the light even when the sky is dark." The elder looked at the seed, then at her, then slowly took it, his fingers trembling. "I do not know how. Then we will learn together." And so they did each morning before the twin suns rose. Lily and the elder met in a small patch of bare stone between the Kailari and Vorn quarters. They cleared the ground together, mixed soil from 3 worlds, and planted the seed with hands that once held weapons. Days passed with no sign of life. The elder grew restless, doubt creeping back into his voice. "Perhaps it is too cold. Perhaps the soil is wrong. Perhaps I am not worthy." Lily shook her head. "Growth does not ask if you are worthy. It only asks if you are willing to wait on the 7th day." A tiny green shoot pushed through the stone. The elder fell to his knees, tears like liquid iron tracing paths down his cheeks. "I see it," he whispered, and in that moment something shifted, not just in him, but in all the Vorn who had watched from afar. They stepped forward not as a group but as individuals, each carrying a small offering. A carved stone, a woven cord, a drop of oil from their homeworld. They placed them around the seedling not as tribute but as promise. Meanwhile, the Kalari adapted. In their own way, young warriors began training not just in combat but in healing, using resonance not to shatter but to mend. Vela opened the memory vaults not as punishment, but as classrooms where elders shared stories of loss and love. And Lily sat among them not as student or teacher but as witness. One afternoon, a Kailari child approached Lily, holding a small clay figure. It was lumpy, uneven, one eye, larger than the other, but unmistakably her. "You made this?" Lily asked. The child nodded shyly. "I wanted you to know you are seen." Lily held the figure close to her heart. "Thank you." That night as she lay in her chamber, the walls humming softly with the hive's quiet thoughts, Lily felt a new presence, not threatening but curious. She opened her eyes to see Mara, the young human girl, standing in the doorway clutching a blanket. "Can I stay here?" she asked, her voice small. Lily patted the space beside her. Kamara crawled in and nestled close, her breathing slow and even. Soon she was asleep, but Lily stayed awake, listening to the 3 heartbeats in the room. Hers, Mara's, and the faint pulse of the hive itself. She thought of Earth, of her mother's garden, of the sound of rain on rooftops. And for the first time she did not feel sadness, only connection. The next morning a message arrived, not through the hive network but through old human radio static. Broken but clear. "This is Colony Ship Horizon calling any Earth survivors. Do you read?" Lily's breath caught. She ran to the communication spire where Vela and Korak already stood, the signal repeating like a heartbeat across the void. It is from your people, Vela said. Lily nodded, her throat tight. Do you wish to answer? She looked at the faces around her, Kylari Vorn human all watching her with the same question in their eyes. Yes, she said, but not as a human alone, as one of us. She stepped to the console and activated the open channel. This is Lily of 07. She said, her voice steady. We read you silence then. A choked sob over. The line, you are alive. We are more than alive. Lily replied, we are building something new and you are welcome here. The response was immediate, frantic, joyful. But Lily held up a hand. Wait, she said. We are not the same as when we left. We have changed. And so has this place. If you come, you must come not to take but to join. Not to rule but to share. Another silence, longer this time. Then a new voice, older, wiser, calm. We understand, Lily. This is Captain Ellis of the Horizon. We come in peace and with open hands. Lily smiled, tears in her eyes. Then come. Preparations began at once. The hive expanded, new quarters carved not in old styles but in fusion. Kalari arches, Vorn, iron beams, human windows that let in light. The Vorn helped forge the frames. The Kalari wove the energy shields. The humans planted seeds along the pathways. Even the elders worked side by side. The day the Horizon arrived, the sky filled with ships. Not warships but transports carrying families, farmers, teachers, children there. Hulls marked not with weapons but with symbols of earth, trees, waves, stars. As the ramp lowered, Lily stood at the base flanked by Vela Korak and the old Vorn elder. A woman stepped out first. Gray hair tied back, kind eyes scanning the crowd until they found Lily. Mom. Lily whispered. The woman ran. They embraced, holding each other as if the universe might pull them apart again. I thought I lost you, the woman said. You never did, Lily replied. You just didn't know I was growing behind them. The people of the Horizon stepped onto 07, not with fear but with wonder. They saw the silver trees, the singing stones, the children of 3 species playing tag through the plaza. And they knew they had not come to a refuge, but to a home. In the weeks that followed, the hive grew richer, not in size but in depth. Humans taught the Vorn to paint with watercolors. Kalari showed humans how to listen to the song of stone. Vorn elders shared stories of their lost queen, and humans sang lullabies that made even the oldest warriors weep. Lily walked through it, all her steps lighter, her smile easier. One evening she stood again on the highest spire, not alone but with her mother. Vela Korak, the old Vorn elder, and Marathe watched the twin suns set, painting the sky in colors no single world could claim. You have done the impossible, her mother said. No, Lily replied. We all did together. Vela placed a hand on her shoulder, the queen's spines glowing softly with contentment. You were never mine, Lily. You were always yours, and that is why you could give yourself to us. Korak nodded. I once saw you as weakness. Now I see you as the first note in a new song. The old Vorn elder held up his hand where a sunflower now bloomed bright and tall against the violet sky. We remember how to hope, he said. And below them the hive pulsed, not with one rhythm but with many hearts beating in harmony. Different yet united, Lily looked out at the city alive with light laughter, learning. She was still human. Still. Kalar is still Vorn in spirit, still Lily, and that was enough. The stars above watched silently, not as distant judges but as witnesses to a truth older than war, older than fear, older than silence. That to care is to be strong, that to share is to survive, that to be different is not to be less but to be more. And as the first stars appeared, Lily closed her eyes and listened, not to the hum of the hive or the wind through crystal leaves, but to the quiet, steady beat of her own heart, knowing it was no longer alone. It had found its place among many, and in that place it thrived. Seasons turned on 07, not marked by snow or rain, but by the slow dance of the twin suns and the blooming cycles of the living stone. The city now hummed with a rhythm all its own, a blend of Kalari resonance, Vorn iron song, and human laughter. Lily walked through the central plaza, no longer a stranger, not even a symbol, but simply Lily, her silver-tinged skin catching the light, her bare feet knowing every warm path by heart. The Horizon colony had grown into a true settlement, not separate from the hive but woven into it. Human homes with Kyalari light vines curling around doorframes, Vorn forged tools in human gardens. Children of all three kinds playing games that mixed hide-and-seek with energy tag and memory riddles yet change. Always stirs the deep waters far beyond the known systems in the silent dark where even stars feared to shine. A new presence stirred not of war, not of conquest, but of hunger. A hunger older than the Vorn, older than the Kalari, a hunger that fed. On silence itself, it came first as a whisper in the hive mind, a gap where thought should be a cold spot in the network that made the young shiver, and the elders grow still. Lily felt it while tending the sunflower garden. She and the old Vorn elder had nurtured the petals, suddenly drooped, the light within them dimming as if something had stolen their song. She ran to Vela, who stood on the observation spire. Her spines dull, her eyes narrowed at the void. It is not a fleet. The queen said it is. An absence Korak arrived, breathless. His armor scarred from recent patrols, the outer scouts are gone. Not destroyed, not captured, just empty. Lily's blood ran cold. They took their minds worse. Vela said they left the bodies but erased the selves. Panic threatened to rise, but Lily closed her eyes and reached into the hive network, not to command but to calm. She sent a single thought. Not fear, but curiosity. What are you? The response was not words but a feeling. Vast, cold, and ancient like the space. Between galaxies it did not hate it, simply consumed it, fed on consciousness like a star feeds on gas, and it was coming. The hive prepared not with weapons but with light artists, painted shields of memory on the city walls showing moments of joy, pain, love, every feeling the entity might try to drain. The Vorn forged resonant bells that rang with personal stories, not data but dreams. Humans wrote poems and sang them into crystal recorders, placing them at every entrance. Lily knew she had to. Go to it. You cannot face nothing with something, Vela warned. But I am not just something. Lily replied. I am someone and so are they. She asked for no ship, no armor, only a small pod lined with living crystal and filled with recordings of the hives. Song Korak insisted on coming, but Lily shook her head. This enemy does not fight bodies, it fights meaning, and meaning must stand alone to be true. So she went. The void outside Zyra 7 was not empty. It was waiting as her pod drifted deeper. The silence grew thicker. The stars seemed to dim, not from distance but from fear. Then she saw it, not a ship, not a creature, but a tear. In reality, a place where thought unraveled like thread pulled from cloth. It reached for her, not with claws, but with emptiness. Lily did not resist. She opened the pod and stepped out into the void. The cold was not of temperature but of meaning. Her memories flickered, her name slipped from her mind. Who was she? But then she heard it, faint at first, then stronger. A lullaby. Her mother's, voice from Earth, then another voice, Kaelari, humming a nursery rhyme. Then a Vorn elder reciting a poem of iron and stars. The hive was singing for her, not to pull her back but to remind her she was loved. And in that moment, Lily understood. This entity was not evil. It was lonely. It consumed minds not out of malice but because it had never known connection. It had drifted through eons, tasting thoughts but never sharing them, so Lily did not fight. She offered. She reached into the tear. Not with fear, but with open hands, and sent not a weapon but a memory. Her first day on Zyra 7, standing alone in the amphitheater. Heart pounding but standing, the entity paused. It tasted her fear. Yes, but also her courage. It tasted her loneliness, but also her hope, and for the first time in its endless existence it felt something not taken but given. The tear shuddered. Light bloomed within it. Not harsh but soft like dawn. The entity did not speak, but it changed. It folded, the tear closed, not vanishing but transforming into a single point of gentle radiance, a star where none had been before. Lily floated in the quiet, her breath steady, her name returning like a friend. She turned her pod toward home when she landed. The hive waited, not in silence but in song. They had felt the shift in the network, the sudden warmth where cold had been. Vela was first to reach her, pulling her into an embrace that spoke more than words. You gave it what it needed. The queen said. I gave it what we all need. Lily replied. To be seen in the days that followed, the new star became known as the listener, and every night the hive gathered to send it. Thoughts not of fear, but of stories of joy, of questions of love. Even the Vorn elders stood beneath it, their iron faces softened. By its light, one evening Lily sat with her mother Mara Korak and the old Vorn elder in the sunflower garden now bursting with golden blooms. Mara looked up at the listener star, her eyes wide. "Do you think it hears us?" Slyly smiled. "It does more than hear, it remembers," Korak grunted, then added softly. "Perhaps all enemies are just lonely hearts in disguise." The old Vorn elder placed a hand on the soil where the first seed had sprouted. "We were all that once," Lily leaned back, feeling the warmth of the twin suns, the hum of the hive, the breath of her mother beside her. She thought of the amphitheater where it all began, a scared girl standing alone. Now she stood surrounded not by subjects or followers, but by family, and the universe felt less cold because they had filled it with song weeks later. A new signal arrived, not from Earth, not from enemies, but from a small ship on the edge of known space, its message simple. "We heard your song, will you teach us how to singularly stood?" Before the communication spire, her people gathered behind her. Kalari Vorn human, all watching her with trust. She activated the channel. "Come," she said, "and bring your silence. We will fill it together as." The ship's light blinked in agreement. Lily turned to her mother. "Do you think we are ready?" Her mother squeezed her hand. "We have been ready since the day you chose to care." That night the hive held a gathering. Not for war, not for mourning, but for welcome. They built a new mural on the central wall showing not just 3 species but many hands reaching toward a single. Star Lily stood before it. Not as queen, not as hero, but as one among many. Vela joined her side, her spines glowing with quiet pride. "You have not just saved us, Lily, you have shown us how to live." Lily looked out at the faces around her warriors. Poets, children, elders, all different altogether. "I did not do it alone," she said. "No," Vela replied. "But you were the first to believe it was possible." Above them the listener stare pulsed gently as if in agreement, and in that moment Lily knew the work would never end. There would always be silence to fill, loneliness to heal, fear to transform. But they would face it not with weapons, but with open hands, not with orders, but with songs, not alone but together, and that was enough. The twin suns dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in colors no single world could claim. And in the soft violet light the hive sang, not one voice but many, rising into the stars, carrying hope, not as a shout but as a whisper that would echo through the ages. "We are here. We are together. We are alive." The peace did not last long beyond the borders of Zyra 7. In the cold void between stars, another hive stirred, not of Kalari, but of Vorn, the ancient rivals whose bodies were forged of iron and whose minds knew only conquest. They had watched the changes on Zyra 7 with growing unease, and now they saw weakness where once there was only strength. A signal was sent, not of words but of war. It arrived as a tremor in the hive mind, a sharp discordant note that made the young cry, and the warriors clenched their fists. Lily felt it first in her bones, a cold spike of fear that was not her own. She dropped the flower she was braiding and ran to the central spire where Vela already stood, facing the sky. "They come." The queen set her spines, darkening to storm gray. Who the Vorn, Vela replied, "They do not understand change. They see it as decay, and they will burn us to ash to purify what they believe is broken." Lily's breath caught. "How long?" 3 cycles, Vela said. "Maybe less." Panic rippled through the hive, but Lily stepped forward and placed her hand on the queen's arm. "Calm the network," she urged, not with command but with presence. "Let them feel not fear but readiness." Vela nodded, and together they sent a pulse through the hive, not of alarm but of unity. In the days that followed, the city transformed again, but this time not with flowers but with purpose. The artists painted maps of defense, the poets composed chants of courage, the children gathered crystals that could focus energy into shields, and Lily walked among them all. Not as a leader but as a thread weaving them together. Korak emerged from the reflection vaults, his eyes no longer burning with anger, but with quiet resolve. He sought Lily in the training yard, where she was learning to move with Kalari grace, her limbs still human but her reflexes sharpened by the hive. "Offer my blade?" he said simply. Lily looked at him for a long moment, then nodded. "Not as a warrior but as a brother. The Vorn do not fight. With honor," he warned, "they strike the weak." They poison the young. They will target you first because you are new, because you are different. Then I will be ready, she said. Training began at once. Not just for Lily, but for all who wished to stand. The old ways of silent obedience gave way to fluid tactics born of human improvisation and Kailari precision. Lily taught them to use distraction, misdirection to fight not just with strength, but with mind. Meanwhile, Vela opened the ancient armory, a place sealed for generations. Within it lay weapons not of destruction, but of resonance tuned to shatter Vorn armor by vibrating at their core frequency. But they required a mind both calm and fierce to wield them. Only Lily could hold one without shaking. It hummed in her hands like a living thing, as the third cycle neared. The twin suns dimmed under a strange haze. The Vorn fleet had entered the system, their ships black and jagged like broken teeth against the sky. The hive fell silent, not in fear but in focus. Lily stood on the outer wall beside Korak, her silver skin catching the last light, her eyes steady. You do not have to do this. He said you could hide in the deep chambers and let them think we are afraid. She replied, no. If they see me stand, they will see we are not broken. The first attack came not with fire but with sound, a shrieking frequency meant to shatter thought and silence the hive mind. But the Kailari were ready. The young stood in circles, humming the lullaby Lily had taught them, their voices weaving a counter-frequency that turned the shriek into a sight. Vorn ships faltered. Then came the ground assault. Iron warriors descended on cables of dark energy, their bodies clanking, their eyes glowing red with hatred. They moved as one mind. No hesitation. No mercy. The Kailari met them, not in rigid lines but in flowing waves. Lily at the center, her resonance blade singing as it struck Vorn armor, cracking it like glass. She fought not with rage but with sorrow, for every Vorn she disabled, she whispered, I see you, and something strange happened. One Vorn warrior paused mid-strike. His red eyes flickering. Lily did not attack. She held out her hand for a heartbeat. The battlefield stilled. Then the Vorn roared and charged, but the moment had been enough. Others saw it too, the hesitation. The flicker. Korak fought beside Lily, his blade a blur of motion, but his eyes watched the Vorn. Not with hate but with dawning understanding. They are not monsters, he said. They are afraid of us, Lily replied, of what we have become. The battle raged for hours. The hive walls scorched the air thick with energy and dust. Yet the Kailari held not through superior force, but through unity. Every warrior, every child, every human in the cells below added their will to the hive mind, a single unbroken song of resistance. Deep in the command spire, Vela stood alone. Her hands pressed to the central crystal, channeling the hive's strength, but also its pain. With every fallen warrior, she felt the loss like a wound, yet she did not close herself off. She let the grief flow through her and out into the network, reminding them that to feel was not weakness but power. As the twin moons rose, the Vorn began to retreat, not because they were defeated, but because they were confused, their rigid certainty shaken by the sight of enemies who wept for their dead, who sang while they fought, who offered hands instead of blades. The last Vorn ship vanished into the void, leaving silence behind. The hive did not cheer. They gathered in the central plaza not to celebrate but to mourn. Lily knelt beside the fallen, both Kailari and Vorn, placing a flower on each chest. Why honor them? Korak asked. Standing behind her, because they were someone's child once, she said. Just like us. Vela joined them. Her spines dimmed with exhaustion, but her eyes bright with pride. You have shown them a new way, Lily. Not just to fight, but to see. In the days that followed, scouts reported the Vorn fleet had not returned to their homeworld. Instead, they drifted in the outer rings of the system. Unmoving, Lily knew what she had to do. She asked for a small ship, not armed, not shielded, just a vessel with open comms and clear windows. You would go to them alone. Vela said. Alone, Lily replied. I will carry the hive with me in my mind and in my heart. Korak insisted on coming as guard. But Lily shook her head. This is not a mission for warriors, it is for listeners. So she went alone. The Vorn mothership loomed like a mountain of iron, its surface scarred and cold. Lily landed, not at the weapons bay but at the communication spire, the place where their hive mind connected. She stepped out unarmed. Her hands open, for hours nothing happened. Then a single Vorn descended. Not in armor, but in simple gray robes, his face lined with age. His eyes no longer red but dull with sorrow. "You are the singer," he said, his voice rough from disuse. "I am Lily," she replied. "Why did you come? Because you stopped fighting," she said. "And I wanted to know why." The old Vorn looked at the stars, then back at her. "Our queen died long ago," he said. "And with her went our song. We have only orders now. Only duty. We forgot how to feel. So we destroy what reminds us of what we lost." Lily stepped closer. "You do not have to forget. You can learn again." "I'll be listening," she said. "Just as you listened when I offered my hand." The old Vorn was silent for a long time. Then he turned and gestured for her to follow. Inside the mothership, it was cold and empty. No children, no art, no light, only corridors of steel and echoes of footsteps. But in the deepest chamber, Lily found something unexpected. A garden small and struggling but alive, with pale blue flowers growing in cracked containers tended by trembling hands. "These are from our world," he said before the silence came. "We grew them for joy." Lily knelt and touched a petal. It felt like hope. She stayed for 3 days teaching them not commands but questions. "How do you feel? What do you remember? What do you wish for?" And slowly the Vorn began to answer. When she returned to Zyra 7, she did not come alone. A dozen Vorn walked behind her, not as prisoners but as guests, their eyes no longer red but soft with wonder. The Kaelari did not attack. They opened the gates. That evening in the central plaza, the two hives met, not with weapons but with shared silence. Then slowly a Kaelari child offered a flower to a Vorn elder, who accepted it with hands that shook. Lily stood between them, her silver skin glowing in the moonlight. Her human heart beating steady. Vela joined her side. "You have done more than save us," the queen said. "You have given us a future." "No," Lily replied, "we all did together." And as the twin moons rose higher, the hive sang not one song but many human Kaelari, Vorn voices weaving together into something new, something whole, something alive. In the quiet that followed, Lily looked up at the stars. Not as distant threats, but as neighbors waiting to be known. The war was over, but the work had just begun, and for the first time in the history of 3 species, they would do it not as enemies, not as rulers and subjects, but as equals, hand in hand, heart to heart, song to song. And that was enough.